Yeah. Have you ever looked into Klaus Schwab's dad?
No.
Have you ever heard of New Schwabenland?
New Schwabenland.
You never heard of New Schwabenland?
No.
Have you ever heard of Operation Highjump?
I knew I was going to love this podcast. No.
Dude,
What's
it's
Operation
crazy.
Highjump? What does that mean?
Okay, so at one point, some people are like, what's going on with Antarctica? Have you heard of this? Where they sent Admiral Byrd up?
What's going on in Antarctica?
Yeah, so the U.S. government's like, something's going on with Antarctica. There's some activity up there. We want to find out what's going on. So they send this cat named Admiral Byrd up to investigate with a giant fleet, just a fleet to go bang, bro. You know?
When was this?
I think this was in the when was Eisenhower in? Was it the
50s?
Yeah, it was
60s?
right around just either around World War II or right after it. And so they sent Admiral Byrd up to go find out. And according to his journal that they found much later, he basically met with UFOs, Nazi UFOs.
What?
Yes,
Nazi UFOs.
The Nazis.
The Nazis had a flying saucer.
Had made a deal, basically, working with
What?
You've never heard this?
No.
It's the greatest story ever, bro. It's the greatest
so
story.
the Nazis made a deal with the aliens?
Yes.
Holy shit.
For technology, and the deal was they were going to work together, okay? I know this sounds crazy. So basically, the aliens go down, and Klaus Schwab's dad go down and meet with Eisenhower. It's gonna be like we could either do it one way or the other way. We could do it nice, or we can do it the wrong way. And that's where they say Eisenhower made a deal with these aliens that they could kidnap people and do experiments, but they couldn't just do it anywhere. They had specific places, which were our national forest.
What?
Yeah, dude. You've never heard of this.
You're making this sound as if this is like a story that is commonplace.
Well, for my people, it is.
Jamie, help me out here. Have you heard the story?
Brand new.
You've never heard of this?
You've
never heard of Operation Highjump, bro?
I feel like I've heard of that, but I haven't, not in this context.
This sounds.
A gentleman who was the flight leader of a U.S. aircraft carrier under Admiral Richard Byrd, under what's called Operation Highjump.
Yes.
The expedition down into Antarctica. I had the most unbelievable interview with him. He wouldn't let me videotape him. He wouldn't even allow me to audio tape him. But here he is, an octogenarian, a lonely man, very much in full command of his faculties, and gave me the incredible jaw-dropping story I have ever heard in my life. But he made sure that I could never reveal his name, because he took oaths of secrecy, Navy intelligence directors that he held very sacred. He said, I'm an American. I don't know the whole ins and outs, but when I'm taking oath and the memory of my military oaths, I take that very seriously. And so he said, but I think, because I kind of played on his sympathies. I said, look, you don't have many years left, sir. I commend you for your service, for for what you've done in your training. And he got emotional. He said, thank you. So you don't have many years left. You got to tell your story. He says, I'll tell it, but I can't put my name on it until I've passed on. And I have not kept track with him, but I don't need to, because his story was indelibly impressed upon my brain. Okay. Let me just share the listeners for what it's worth, what he told me. Okay. And again, do I have proof of it? Do I have a videotape? Do I have an audio tape, dated that tape? No, I do not. But I tell you, as his first person, this is what I witnessed. He brought out his flight jacket and his pictures. He had his memorabilia. His flight jacket had the USS insignia. It had the patch for Operation Highjump. It was the real deal, the penguins on it and all that. So he legitimately had the story. And then he explained that he was an ace pilot, like the best of the best, being trained. His whole flight squadron on this USS aircraft carrier were being trained to attack Japan, Tokyo. Until, he says, we were so grateful when the nuclear bombs went off and Japan unconditionally surrendered. It means that, we were reassigned, okay? And so we were all happy and so celebratory when Japan surrendered. But then they got these top secret orders from Truman to absolutely retrain and redirect. A whole carrier task force was reassigned to go down to Antarctica, and there to engage and seek and destroy a top secret Nazi base down there. What? Yes, sir.
Whoa.
So it was given the official cover as a scientific expedition, but it was far from that. They had submarines. They had, I don't know how many destroyers. They had the aircraft carrier itself. And these crack fighter pilots, of which he was the squadron leader, lieutenant. See, and he had pictures and he had proof of it. What he proceeded to tell me started to really started my head to scratch, because it started to connect dots and connect the linkages. All right, because what he outlined, and I'll try to make it as brief as I can.
I'm in no hurry. We're in no hurry.
Okay. He explained that they went down and set up base. They had intelligence. See, the Soviets were the first ones into Hitler's inner circle. Okay. And so they retrieved a lot of Hitler's private papers. And it was the Soviets who had the intelligence to the Allies at right about the same time as Japan surrendered. Okay, so this became top priority for the Allies. According to this eyewitness, there were actually Soviet intelligence agents assigned to Byrd's command, Admiral Byrd's command. So it was very much a joint Soviet operation as well. Okay, we were still allies. It was before the Cold War hit and all of that. So here's what happened, according to this eyewitness. He should know. As he was given orders to launch off of the flight deck of the aircraft carrier. I think it was Casablanca. I'm not sure the name of the aircraft carrier. But they did concentric flight circles looking for telltale signs of a base. And what he said, we came around this one large mountain range, and lo and behold, we looked and we saw a freshwater lake. I mean, it was a big lake, completely free of ice. And not only that, but on the other side of this lake, he explained, was green grass, greenery. And they radioed it in. We need to go look, because they had to go through a lot of cloud cover to finally get to see this. He said the cloud cover was very constant, very foggy and misty. Okay. And so he explained that he radioed it in. He was going to go in for a closer look. A few of the aircraft ahead of him just basically crashed and burned. They just kind of blew up. And they went to emergency action. They didn't know what was happening to them. Flew off to the side, did the response, and they realized that they were hitting some kind of force field, as they explained. It was some high technology they'd never seen before. It was like they just crashed into something that they couldn't see. And they went back, and because just before that happened, their compasses, their radio equipment just went. It was like they lost any type of north reading, right? So it was electromagnetic in scope, is what he was saying to me. And so they came back to reassess to see what was happening. And then of course, the clouds came back in. It was very, very foggy and misty. And so they came back to land it on the flight deck and to report to Admiral Byrd, when suddenly really a lot of strangeness happened at that point. He explained that there were UFOs, flying discs, coming out of the water right close to this landmass.
Oh.
And they were actually having a dogfight. And he says it was like a cat playing with a mouse. The technology was so far advanced. He says, I saw literally half my squadron shot down immediately. We brought him closer to a destroyer. The destroyer started shooting at the UFO fleet. And then they turned on and destroyed the destroyer, just blew it up. He said, I'm telling you, this is what I witnessed. And then there was communication at that point. Don't fire on us. This was in heavy German accents. Don't fire on us. We won't fire on you. Ceasefire. And so they were called back and landed on the flight deck. The communication then went directly to Admiral Byrd, explaining that they did not wish to destroy any more equipment and human life, but asked for a meeting with Admiral Byrd. And according to my source, this meeting actually took place. The meeting took place, and the German commander of this place called, now get this, the place was called New Schwabland. New Schwab. The head of this guy, last name was Schwab. Does that ring any bells?
Klaus Schwab.
Yes, there you are.
Oh!
Are you connecting some dots there, Mr.
I
Tripoli?
am connecting dots, dude. This is nuts.
Schwabland. This inner circle of high, extremely high technology. All right. Fast forward. All right. A directive was given. The communication radio went to Brazil, transferred on to the Joint Chiefs in the Pentagon, and, of course, President Truman. The orders were given to have Admiral Byrd immediately report to the Pentagon, which he did. He got the transport plane, went in there, and delivered the documentation. He says, the report was, and again, this lieutenant I was talking about was in the upper command on the bridge. I mean, he was debriefed, okay, of all this that went on. So, I mean, this is, again, he's telling me this back in I think, 93, 94. That's how long ago he was telling me the story. And so he went on to explain, I'm sitting here, he allowed me to take notes, but as try as I might to get him to let me record him on my digital recorder, tape recorder, wouldn't do it. Absolutely refused to let me record him. So I took notes. He did allow me to ask questions. I did follow up with questions. It's just, wow. It's why Navy intelligence is so much involved in this. Okay.
All right, guys. I want to because the Nazis were just consumed with the occult and what that represented, and then obviously with alien technology that they had made some deals. And, there's also, in my humble opinion, an argument, possibly, and I don't want to lose anybody, but that the Nazis never lost the war. They actually, they won, and there was a story told, and that's why they were allowed to go to Argentina, go to Russia, go to the United States without prosecution. That Nuremberg trial was, in fact, just a show and pony show.
Well, you're exactly right. That's exactly what this lieutenant told me. Exactly that. He said that he was disturbed, knowing the truth, really. But then he, in his own mind over the years and decades, he basically said, well, maybe the Germans aren't so bad. You know, maybe they're not too bad because, they're kind of Christian and yet he understood fully the Operation Paperclip, okay, where the Werner von Braun's, these war criminals, Werner von Braun was sentenced to death. You know that? At the Nuremberg trials. He was the mastermind of the V2 rockets. He rained death and destruction on the city of London. He was given a whole new set of clearances and came and headed up NASA. Okay, that's Werner von Braun. And who's really controlling all of the UFO rhetoric? Yeah, NASA. All of this story, even the moon landings, everything starts to come into really tinfoil hat areas, okay, because it all starts to make sense now.
Yes. And